What's going on, guys? I'm back again. Okay. So I figured we take a little break here from corn, because we did that last couple streams here. And we're going to hook up to our Draper header here, and we're going to start plugging away at some beans. So this is a 35-foot Draper. Should do the trick here. We'll do beans for a little bit. Well, let's take care of the bean fields that haven't been plowed yet. So I think it's 55 and 15 are two of our bean fields that haven't been plowed yet. So we're gonna kind of start plugging away at those. One's a fairly decent sized field, and the other one is pretty small here. You know, actually, before I do that, I'm gonna let's get our combine here. Let's get a convoy going. We're gonna drop our corn head off. Looks like we're doing okay on fuel. So that thing's gone. Oh, I forgot. The one thing I was gonna do is I was gonna kind of make these row crops a little bit narrower than what they are, but well. So we're gonna use follow me mod here. Let's bump it back to, oh, what is 20? Yeah, 20's too close. Nope, nope, nope. We want this guy. This is the guy we want. I modified the collision on that grain auger, so so we'll be able to drive trucks over it, and it shouldn't really do much. Okay, so we got everyone on board here. Okay, great. So I'm actually gonna drop my speed on this thing down to like 30. Alright, so this is a pretty, can't wait to get into that field. We'll probably be saving our two largest fields for last, actually, here. So you know what, I better slow down here so these guys they don't fall too far behind. What's going on, Matt, Dylan, Jake, Charlie, DRK? I'm assuming that's like abbreviated for dark truth. Well, it's not an issue of speed there. It's an issue of some of our fields, our big fields have really long passes, and with a bigger header, we just don't have the tank capacity to make it down and back. So it's more efficient for us to use a smaller 8-row head, which, you know, it's not the smallest corn head. It's pretty standard. The guy that farms these fields in real life has an 8-row head, so figured we try to replicate that best we can here. Thanks, Tango. You guys keep watching them. I'll keep making them. The one thing I don't like about Follow Me is they come in hot on every turn. It doesn't recognize your speed on your turns, so it just kind of does the same speed whenever. So here's that boomerang field we just oh, there goes our combine. See? Always an issue here. So that field ended up being 100. I wrote it down here. It ended up being 133 bushel an acre. That's about 9.76 acres. You know, I can't be too mad about that because one, it costs us nothing. We put no money into that field. We did no plowing in that field. We put down no fertilizer in that field, and we still ended up at 133 bushel an acre. Our other field, field 1, that was a 92.3 acre cornfield, that ended up being 173 bushel an acre. So a little bit better. Still not great, but pretty decent. Why am I using a header trailer? That should be pretty self-explanatory. Yes, I built my PC myself. I don't mod for console. You're gonna have to find someone that does that and ask them. Sorry. I don't use a console, so I don't mod for a console. This would be a nice bean field. These two fields are relatively small. So we're coming up on field 55 here. Field 55 is going to be, we've harvested this one before. This was beans last time. It will be our first bean field. So I'm actually tempted to start over here, but you know, whatever. We'll go over wherever the field access point is. Yeah, I had a different bean texture, but I just kind of reverted back to a lot of the default textures. It's just, you know, I'll live with it. It's not a big deal. Not the greatest things, but it's easier to kind of change things instead of, because then you gotta start changing header animations and things like that. So we'll drop our truck off here on the side of the road. I'm not done with corn. We're just kind of taking a break. We're gonna start on some of our bean fields that we own here to kind of take a break from corn. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of open up some space here for semis and stuff, and for a grain cart. So let's open up our header here. So we're just gonna open up some space here for our equipment to kind of park, get going. So this is field 55. If we want to calculate how big this field is, looks like it's 13.69 hectares. Jake, we traded in our New Holland 960 for the 680 deer. We did that over the winter here. So this area of the map's a little bit less developed, not as fun to play around, but what can you do? So I'm gonna set up a GPS line here. Make some headland passes, and we'll go from there. So hopefully we're getting around 45, 50 bushel, hopefully nothing less than that. Anything less than that will be pretty depressing. We're going to have to hold on to these beans until spring. That's when the price starts to get pretty decent on these. Corn this winter. Yeah, chop straw is right behind us. Definitely using it. Although there's something fishy going on with my chop straw. Pretty thick layer of trash behind here. So this would actually be a pretty decent cornfield. These two other fields, there's some trees in the middle. They're actually two separate fields. You can kind of plow those together and make a somewhat decent field here. If you were to get those trees out of the way, you could put an irrigation unit. You could put an irrigation unit right in the middle of this field too, if you really wanted to. Right now we only have one sell point. It's an ethanol plant. Technically, you're only supposed to be really selling corn there. I haven't got around to actually building a legitimate sell point for this map. I'll probably keep the ethanol plant where it is. It doesn't actually exist there. But there is a federated co-op. And I might put like a grain sell point there. Or maybe something on the river, or maybe something on the train tracks, I'm not sure. This region, you really can't double crop. Maybe you could put in a winter wheat or something like that, but that's very uncommon. No one, you know, the climate up here is so cold. If you look at the forecast, this is based off of this region. It gets pretty cold pretty quick. It stays cold really long, and then the soil temperature takes forever to warm up and dry out. So it's not like Western Kentucky or Texas or, you know, down south. This is northwest Wisconsin. It is not warm. It's cold. It's wet. It's a lot of trees, and fairly hilly. So. Now, the yield on this field will also be kind of bad. Again, this is not plowed. This wasn't plowed in the fall, and it was only fertilized like once or twice, I think. So we're probably leaving 20 or 30% yield on the table here. So there's room for improvement next season for sure. If I knew how to say your name, I'd say thanks. Situ? Miku? Miktu? Oh, would you look at that, Western Kentucky? I only say that because I watch Big Tractor Power, and he films a lot of videos there, and they're always double cropping. It's all about the climate. It's not really an option here, unfortunately, for the farmers that grow, try to produce stuff here. So, I'm pretty happy that Giants added soybeans, but their soybean texture honestly looks like wheat or oats or something. So hopefully in the next version they kind of update their crop textures here, because I have no idea how you're going to differentiate between barley, wheat, beans, and oats. It's all going to look like the same crop. Hello from Texas. I don't know about you, but it's warm as heck up here. It's 95 here today. Took the dog out swimming, and she really, she loves the water, but it's almost too hot for her. And I have like some weird nasal allergy thing going on. Well, John Deere is officially 19, so yeah, I imagine they'd have some tractors and some combines and some implements. If anything, I would expect them to have the most equipment out of all brands. But who really knows? Maybe they'll just have like one tractor. I imagine whatever Case has, John Deere will want to at least have that, plus maybe one extra mod. In standard competitive fashion. Oh damn, 108. Yeah, you win. You win. The only thing is it's super humid here. I don't know what the humidity is over there, but it's pretty terrible over here. Honestly, we might not even need to have an overloader here. We can just do a truck, and that will probably be just fine. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go down here and come back, open up the middle section a bit. So someone was saying get rid of the bubble. I actually bumped up the crop viewing distance from 80 to 100, so and then my graphics are all like maxed out. So we're actually having a crop viewing distance of 200. So we got rid of that crop bubble for the most part, and it looks a lot better. No one mentioned that in the last couple videos. There's still a little bit if you kind of... But we got rid of most of that bubble, so we can still improve upon it. But it didn't really seem to do much for the frames per second here. Magnums from Missouri, 108 Fahrenheit, 102 in Kentucky. With humidity, it's like 112. Yeah, that's disgusting. That is disgusting. You know, it kind of feels nice to get away from the corn for a bit and get into some beans. You know, honestly, we might as well keep going on to beans here. We have this field, another small one, and then we have that enormous one left. So I'm gonna have to do one more pass for a headland here, and then we'll probably be able to turn a little bit more efficient. Do I farm in real life? Nope. No, I do not. You know, some days I wish I did. Other days I'm glad I don't. I need to become good friends with someone that has a large farm, so I can come over there and kind of play around with his equipment and then leave. Yeah, the combine is very sexy. It doesn't get any sexier than green and yellow. Well, I mean, yellow machines are pretty sexy as well. Yellow and black. Red and black also pretty legit. Basically anything that's big and powerful and looks badass. You really can't go wrong. Although Fent, you know, Aiko is really turning into what I call is like a car fashion show. They're starting to really make their equipment, you know, fashionable. Like they're really paying attention to like how cool it looks. It's like designer made and things like that. I'm kind of curious when John Deere is going to be coming out with the new series of combines here. 35,000 acres, damn. It's a large field. Yeah, I mean, everyone has their preference of equipment. Um, that's to be expected. Honestly, when you're farming in real life, it's all about where your dealership is and how well you can get equipment and how fast you can get equipment serviced. You wouldn't be running a Case IH if you had a John Deere dealer 5 miles down the road and your nearest Case IH dealer is 100 miles away. That just doesn't make sense. That's just a poor business decision right there. Clover Creek, Tommy, I'm not sure what you mean by that. This map is Osceola. We did quite a few videos on Clover Creek back in 15. Yeah, the 790. I mean, they're basically the same combine as this one. They just have updated globe and some, some, new programming, but they're basically the same machine. 4,800 acres. I definitely wouldn't say that's middle size. I would definitely say that's in the spectrum of large. I would say your average dairy farm in Wisconsin is about 500 acres, 500, 600 acres. That's an average. Your average crop farm is maybe 1,000 in this region. So when you're saying 4,800, that's a pretty large farm. There's a couple people that farm around 3,500 acres around this, but they're in multiple counties. It's pretty hard to get all that land in one area. It just doesn't happen. Too many hills, too many trees. So it's gonna get pretty dark here in the next couple hours, so we need to try to get crack-a-lackin'. I enjoy playing in the dark, but I know for you guys watching the videos, it's not as great. Am I using JHHG mod edits? No, I'm not. I use my own edits. I fixed the spec maps and the diffuse textures to match my existing John Deere equipment, if that's what you're referring to. Lone Oak Farm is pretty. Yeah, I've seen pictures of that. I've kind of explored that map in GE, and I really like it. The only downside with the map is it's a 1x map, obviously. I mean, that's really the only way one person can kind of add, kind of realistic detail in a timely fashion. And I think that's the only format that's supported on all console versions. PC, you can pretty much do whatever the heck you want. It's great. It's total sandbox, which is why I kind of keep coming back to this game. Consoles, they're very restricted and limited on what they can have. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to look at that map, the Newland map. I know Jake and those guys wanted me to come on board and do some MP, but honestly, doing the whole MP thing, it's really inconvenient. It's a lot of work, and I'm just kind of enjoying the single player life, so to speak. So I'm going to see how far we get with this. We're at 94%, but we're going to be taking half a swath here. Half a pass. And then we're going to have to go call our grain cart driver over to kind of unload us. I'm not sure what you're referring to as a spreadsheet. So, no. Is it too early to turn on the work lights here? Probably, huh? Probably. Alright, so if I turn that one on... Oh, it turns on the pipe cam. I don't really need it. Do I only play American style map? Yep. Man, I pretty much only play my map. I played my map, my Windchaser map a lot. Then I played a little bit on Clover Creek and things like that from Cole. But now that I'm kind of back into map making, this Osceola map, this is kind of my crown jewel, my gem, so to speak. This is pretty much the only, map I play on. It doesn't really make sense for me to spend time on another map, really. When I first started playing in 13, I played a lot on the MIG map, the Made in Germany map. That was kind of a nice 4X map to play around on, and played around on, I think it was Spring Hill or Springfield or something like that. A tiny little European map. So now I'm gonna tab over to my grain cart guy. Windchaser is not a real map. It is a made-up map. It was a heavily edited. Okay, so Windchaser. The story behind Windchaser is it started out as the Benz Northwest or something like that, and then I basically just kept the 4X, kept all the files, deleted everything. So basically, it was just the terrain, nothing else. No buildings, no roads, no nothing, no trees. And started from scratch, so to speak. But I built off the backbone of that. Just essentially, it was a blank map, but with terrain and fields and things like that. And I just edited to make it kind of a more American. That's basically what Windchaser was. I had a lot of fun on it. Learned a lot. Made a lot of mistakes, but since then, I've learned. That's basically between that and the Salem, North Dakota map, making edits, and the MIG map, doing edits. I've learned a lot. So this is Osceola. This is a true kind of created from nothing. Everything you see here was created from a flat green plane. And so Osceola is it is a DEM, which means digital elevation. It has true DEM topography in it. It's based on satellite imaging. The boundaries, all DEM satellite imaging. So this is, basically that's really what I wanted. And working with Windchaser, the 4X is great. However, I found myself kind of feeling restricted, even in a 4X map, in terms of, I really want to drive a truck more. And even a 4X is, it's a big map. It is limited in the amount of mileage you can kind of drive around in, So that's basically why I said the next map I'm gonna make is going to be a 16X. It's going to be a DEM, and it's going to be based on satellite imaging. It's going to be based off of a real-world location, because making a map on a fake area is really hard, honestly. And I was never real happy with Windchaser because it's fake. It's not real. So there's a lot of issues going on, like the infrastructure, the road system didn't make sense. There's multiple sell points that I never really liked. So yeah, Osceola is dope. It's I wouldn't say it's dope. I'd say it has potential to be very dope. But right now it has kind of the backbone here. the skeleton of something good. Yeah, that way back in 13 when I was using that old case equipment, that's kind of right when I was starting Wind Chaser. I kind of made that initial farm, and you know everything kind of developed around that. So that's pretty much what happened there. But that was back in the days where we had soil mod, we had the MR version, depending, you know, your combines that had different threshing areas, and so there was a difference between like a 9230 and a 7130 and things like that. So the bushel counter. I mean the mod that converts the liters to bushels and things like that. Thunder, shit, I forgot his name. Like Thunder Farm Sims something modding. Um, Initially it was on American Eagle modding, I guess. I'm assuming it's going to be there again. I also like Clover Creek. Cole said he was never real happy. I think he said he was never really happy with it. And now he's working on an Iowa map or a Pennsylvania map, a 1X map, adding a lot of detail to it where you can kind of farm it pretty comfortably on a single player. For me, you know, people think 16X is really large. For me, honestly, even in a 16X map, you're only farming probably a 1X area, maybe even less. We're only farming 1,000 acres right now. And the difference is, like, if I ever want to build more of this map, or change the area, or farm a different area, I can. I don't have to change maps. So, and if I want to drive around, that's great. That's kind of like the 1X thing. Like, I just don't get it. You can have a 16X map or a 4X map and develop a 1X area and play it, and then kind of move to a different region and develop that as you know, kind of progress. You don't need to build the whole map at one time. Anyways, I couldn't tell you there, Tommy. I haven't played it since 15. So we're almost up to a quarter of a tank here in our bushels. You know, once we get to the field across the street here, field 12, it's 308 acres of beans that's plowed and fertilized. I think on Wind Chaser, I was up to. I think we're past 3,000 acres or something like that we were farming, and we weren't really even farming the entire map. Anyways, heard the subscribe notification. Thanks for the subscribe. If you guys like do the subscription thing, it kind of like pops up in the stream here, and you can kind of get a little recognition going there. Oh, speak of the devil. Cole says he's going to move across Osceola and move in on the Minnesota side. You know, I really cannot wait until I kind of get this Wisconsin side developed, so I can kind of move over there on the Minnesota side. There's some really cool farms over there that are going to eventually become the main dairy on this map. And that area is a lot more scenic than this Wisconsin side. Hate to say it, but it's a lot more beautiful over there. Yep, the harvester is courtesy of custom modding. I just kind of modified the diffuse spec maps a little bit to make it a little bit more John Deere authentic green, and you know, to match my other John Deere equipment here. One thing I've noticed is you can have the exact same hex color of green into your diffuse, but depending on how you make your spec map, the end result of the mod can look completely different. And you know, there's people out there, like the way I do my spec maps is not the proper way to do it. I made a video on how to make spec maps, and I continue to use that same method. But there's people out there that kind of make a generic spec image and then use that for everything, and it's just even half-assing it even more. At least I try to make a spec map for each diffuse texture, so. But I mean, you can argue, hey, you know, that saves, you know, file size and things like that, which is true. But you can also argue, hey, that doesn't, you know, that's not real accurate in how you do your spec map. It's not even you drawing a diffuse image. It's just a generic spec, so whatever. Liters and bushels is called converter mod. I need to make like a big bold thing in the stream that says that. So note to self, try to always plant beans in highly fertilized and plowed ground, because the yield on this thing is pretty terrible. I think it only had like one fertilization state and it wasn't plowed, so. My old kitty cat, no, that thing. You know, ever since Giants added Challenger and I saw what a really good one looked like, those things went in the trash bin real fast. I haven't even looked at those things again. You know, at the time when I didn't have anything else to use, it was great. But now that Giants made some really nice Challengers, I mean, you'd be foolish to even use. You know, I never released them. Some douche I used to do MP with, you know. There's nothing lower in life than releasing someone else's work without their permission, honestly. And, he was a good old Southern boy, you know, supposed to be religious and everything. What a sham. Am I going to make a John Deere or a Case IH planter? Nope, nothing's planned. Made a couple John Deeres when I first started modeling. At the time, they worked pretty okay, but now that I've learned a thing or two about making accurately proportioned and scaled mods, I tend not to use those anymore. More focused on map making, editing my existing mods, and making some custom map objects for my map here. It's kind of what my focus has been. And doing more live streams because I took 6 months off there and neglected the channel, neglected you guys, so figured tried to get on here, play, and stream a little bit more to make up for that. I'm thinking of kind of gearing my channel more towards streaming and videos and less towards modding. I'd rather not be part of the modding scene anymore. Things I'd rather mod, I'd rather just, keep private. It's easier. And I don't have to deal with drama, and because there's a lot of people that kind of like to ruin a good thing in this community here. So, yep, it was a 120 initially, and then I modified the DB60 from that. Unfortunately, they weren't. They were kind of scaled correctly, as in, they both measured 60 foot and 120 foot, but they weren't proportioned correctly, so. Wah, wah, wah. What header is that? It is, I'm not sure if he released it or not, but I kind of made this. He sent his header pack to me to kind of like play around with initially. I'm pretty sure he released it. But I kind of modified a 35 foot draper out of the pack. Initially it was like a 40 and a 45 foot. So that's what this is. A lot of people do not have draper headers around this area. They have the traditional auger. But yeah, it is the FD75 flex draper. Doesn't really do a whole lot of flexing though. But beggars cannot be choosers, am I right? Although, I'm pretty sure Raphael figured out how to make it he's kind of a Maya guru. And, he made like the 3D tracks and everything like that. And he also made the flex draper kind of have a flex animation in it. Maya, that's something if you're ever going to learn modding, try to learn it on Maya and not Blender, because once you learn it, it's very difficult to kind of get motivation to change. Yep. You know, the Draper is kind of the Cadillac, so to speak. You know, that's another thing. Why do we keep saying it's the Cadillac of this or Cadillac of that? Have you guys ever seen a Cadillac or ever owned a Cadillac? They're completely trash in terms of luxury vehicles. Like it's completely, it's not even remotely close to like a Mercedes or a BMW or an Audi or a Range Rover. Like if you buy a Cadillac, it's like GM's experimental vehicle. It's definitely not what I consider luxury vehicle. But yet we keep saying that. Why is that saying, stick around? If you go on Tractor House and things like that, you see some Draper headers out there that are pretty reasonable priced. I mean, is there any reason why you wouldn't want to buy a used, even slightly used, Draper header? I mean, it's a lot of moving parts, I understand that. Maybe not as many moving parts as a chopping corn head, but... it's a lot better. I mean, if you buy it the same Draper a year or two older for 60,000 less, I mean, I think that's kind of a deal. But what do I know? I mean, you look at those farms. They buy. Let's use Western Kentucky for example. They trade in a combine every other year. They trade in their headers every other year. I mean, if you get 2 years on a head. Granted, it's maybe doing 4,000 acres of work, but still, it's pretty freaking brand new. And the only it's a belt, exactly belt. In terms of moving parts, the fewer moving parts, the better, right? I feel like a belt system is relatively simple. In terms of a corn head, a chopping corn head, I feel like that's a freaking nightmare. That has to go through a ton of material. Probably gets in the mud. Just these things are heavy as hell. That's about perfect. We were able to do that full round and have 6% to spare here. So far we pretty much took off about just shy of 800 bushel of beans. I'd say we're probably going to take off another 800 or so here. What's going on, Joe? Yeah, horsepower drain. I understand that. People are giving me shit for running a 8-row corn head on my 680, but in real life, when you got hills like this, and you're trying to chop a lot of your trash, and you're just gonna, try to go up some decent hills, and then you got some mud, you gotta engage your rear wheel assist, it's honestly, it's about your engine horsepower, really, more than anything, in these areas. I need to get someone in here to help me. True. I mean, I have the old Courseplay helper. It's just too much work at this point. I'm working on all these mods every day in this map. I can never do MP at this point in time. Maybe in a year or two, I can maybe do some multiplayer on this map. It'd have to be in, you know, FS17 because there's no way I'd be able to convert everything over. That was the biggest hassle of doing MP in 15 is every time you had an error, you kind of had to unzip the mod, then you had to fix it. Then you had to zip it back up, then you had to re-upload it to the server, and then everyone had to re-download it. It's, you know, it's a huge time sieve, you know. It's almost easier to just do a server and just use in-game mods and a couple scripts, not really equipment, you know. What's going on, ID Gaming? I don't know, Cole, if you're still watching or listening, I updated the Osceola file in Dropbox there like an hour ago. So I'm not sure which version you're using, but there was an issue with the tip trigger and the the farm silo trigger. It wasn't saving, so. There's a lot that Giants needs to fix. Of all things, you know, the enter animation when you get it in and out, and it kind of moves. I can live with that. That's not, you know, I'm not losing sleep over that issue. I agree, you know, the more interactive function and the more realistic you can get, the better. However, there's a lot more. There's larger issues that take priority over a manual and folding and unfolding ladder. Um, but yeah, I'm all for more complexity and more detail. You just got to keep in mind that they went to consoles, and consoles really screwed us PC players over because they really have to dumb a lot of things down so those consoles can support it, can support the gameplay. So us PC players, we lose out on a lot of function here, and need to rely on the modded community to kind of make up that gap. So Cole, you're looking at the scale line in the material for the chop shroud. The scale line should be the same as every other material. I was looking at Mills County and Lone Creek, and it's the same as those. It was like 4 times initially, and then it was like 4096, and I changed it to like 1024 or whatever, and it still looks the same. So, and I'm not really sure why it kind of looks invisible in an aerial view, and then when you get more towards a ground view here, it becomes visible. It's almost like the texture is rotated. And it looks the same way in Giants Editor as it does in game. Thanks, console peasants. Green Demon with the honest truth. Green Demon gets a shout out. I never do shout outs, but true story right there. Preach it. Honestly, I can't be that mad at Giants. It's a great business decision. They're probably making millions of dollars by going to multiple consoles, but 77.2. Okay, so Cole, maybe you don't have. I swear I changed that. What are all 4 digits? If it has a 4000 number in there, it didn't save my edit. Because 77.25 looks familiar, and I'm pretty sure I changed that to a 255. And there used to be a 4000 number which I changed to 1000, but if it's not letting me save that, I don't know what else to do. Hey, thanks Russell. Thanks for tuning in. What time is it there in Australia? It's getting a little bit towards evening here. It's either super early in the morning there, or is it 4096? Yeah, so I'm confused because Cole, try to delete that version and download the newest version and see if it's the same. You can hate me later, but like a night or two ago, I made those changes. And I updated the map about an hour ago, so I'm not too sure which version you have. But I would try to download the latest version, like re-download it today and see if it is. But I'm still having the same issue, even though I made the change. I'm not sure if it's saving the change, and I'm not sure why. It's kind of like when you change the cosine value in GE from like a 50 to a 20, and the next time you open it up again, it's back to 50. It's like the most stubborn thing. 7 in the morning on the 6th. Gotcha. So you're about 14 hours ahead of us here. That's not too bad. What's going on, Marco? But yeah, so Cole, if you're watching this, you see it? If I look on the aerial view, it looks like it does not exist. But if I go to a more kind of in parallel with the ground view, you can see the chop shot texture. And it looks like it has a more height and volume to it. It's almost like the texture's kind of like rotated 9 degrees. I've never had that issue. It's always been the same way. Okay, so the latest version 7.4. I just updated it today, an hour ago. So let me see if Dropbox is done syncing. So it says it's fully synced here. It says it's fully synced here, so I mean, I did it a couple days ago, I'm pretty sure. So even that, yeah, I'm not sure why it was 7.4. I definitely updated it today, twice actually. Exactly, the corn chop shot is hard to see. You know, even when it is hard to see. And for whatever reason, I don't know what the issue is. That's the issue with these 16x maps, is nothing is ever easy because you can't use standard values. You need to modify literally everything to make it work with the 16x. Anyways, Cole, even if it was the 7.4, I'm pretty sure that's kind of updated. I know I was working on it yesterday, so maybe it's not. I don't know. I'll have to double check here when I'm done with the stream, but you could probably change the lines in your i3D and then you know, try to see if it's changed any in GE, because I've noticed the chop straw kind of looks the same as it does in GE as in game. At least this issue I'm having. So I'm not too sure what to do here. It works. Everything works. It just looks a little funny. I do have that manual attacher script where you can kind of move the header up and down. Could be the GDM scale. You mean for chop straw? Could be. I don't think I ever changed that. I think that's default to 4X if I'm not wrong. I don't think I messed around with chop straw until, you know, early on in 15. So I don't think I've messed around with it in 17 years. So could be right. You know, when you're working on maps, you're gonna quickly realize the GDM and the GDM converter is like the worst thing. It's gonna cause you so many problems. It's gonna make your textures look messed up, your crops look messed up. It's gonna mess up everything. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if I had to like redo the GDM converter on that. Basically, if the GDM is the same size as the 4X map, that's our problem right there. That means we kind of have to double that. We have to use the GDM converter, rescale it to twice the size, and then re-input it, and then maybe, just maybe, it will fix our problem. You know, everyone needs a modding guy. Everyone needs a map guy. Colt, you're my map guy. If I have a problem, I call you up. I was very late to the whole modding game in 17 here. Very late. It's like 6 months late. Not only was I 6 months late, but then I took another 6 months off from not doing anything. So I'm like over a year late to this whole making maps for 17. Anyways, I'm surprised there's 44 people watching me mow soybeans, as Erica would say, and kind of rant on here. So I changed my viewing perspective from 75 to 65, and I'm not sure if I like it. I was so used to my 75 viewing distance that I'm not sure if I like the 65. I mean, it seems fine, but Cole says he has an addiction. I have an addiction too. This game is literally worse than cocaine and heroin combined. Um, Not only does it give you pleasure, but it makes you extremely frustrated and makes you lose sleep over the dumbest things. Like, there's days where I go to bed and I'm like, God, what is the issue with this thing? Like, that's when you know you have a problem. Have you ever guys seen the meme where this guy's kind of sitting in bed with his like wife or girlfriend, and she's like, "Oh, he never pays attention to me. I wonder what he's thinking. He must be cheating." You know, in like the thought bubble. And then in his bubble, he's like, "Oh, I wonder why the motorcycle won't start. I kicked it." So that's kind of the same situation going on here. Like neglecting the significant other because the Giants is causing issues that I can't get off my mind here. I've never related to a meme more than that one. I'm like, God, that's so true, and it's so sad. I could be at work, you guys probably don't know this, I'm a dentist in real life. I could be at work, I'm going over notes, or I'm working on a patient, and then all of a sudden, farming simulator pops into my head when I'm doing a crown prep or a bridge prep or something. You know, I was just like, oh, maybe if I try this, that will fix this issue. Like, if you guys ever experience that, that happens to me all the time, and it's annoying as hell. And then you're kind of like itching, like, shit, hurry up, I want to get done, I want to go home, I want to try this thing and see if it solves my problem. And the worst thing is when you build up all this anticipation throughout the day, you're like, aha, the light bulb, eureka, I've discovered the problem. This is a new approach to this issue I've been having that I haven't tried before. And then you get home, and then you spend another 4 hours the night, and it's not fixed because it wasn't a simple thing. That's the most depressing thing ever. So chop straw is correctly sized, incorrectly sized, 16384. That doesn't look like a familiar number. Does not look like a familiar number at all. Maybe it should be the 8192. I feel like that's what it is for a 4X map, though. And the thing is, the number blocks are like the same. Everything functions with the chop straw the way it's supposed to, or at least the way I remember it. The only thing is, visually, you can't really see it. When you go to an aerial view, you kind of have to really get down here and look at it. Maybe Texar knows what's going on. Texar, have you ever done a 16X map and had an issue with chop straw? I know you're kind of the modding guru over the mapping guru over there for Random and the Sinister Socks, so Jake and Dusty, however you kind of refer to them. I'm stumped. I don't know what the issue is. Okay, so the 16384 is correct. So I didn't make a mistake there. Okay, good to know. So it's not a simple fix. Gee dang it. Because I'm pretty sure Chop Straw came out as a 4000 as a default for 1X. So, I don't know. Thanks, Connor. Laptop or a monitor? I play on, I have a desktop. I think that's what you meant. And I've been flirting with the idea of building a new PC and kind of giving away this one that I'm using right now as kind of like a thank you for being a loyal follower of subscriber. Because you not only does Facebook but YouTube as well. They kind of track all that statistics, so I know which viewer has like the most viewing hours, most shares, and things like that. So you would definitely go to that person. You wouldn't just go to a random. But I was thinking maybe at like the 25,000 subscriber, that's when that giveaway would go out. And you know, it's not a cheap computer. It's well over $2,000 computer. I think that would just kind of be a nice thank you and kind of a cool thing to do. Because I really don't know if I build a new computer here, what the hell am I going to do? So. Alright, so we're gonna drive a truck over here, fix that collision so I can actually drive over it. I'm gonna put a tarp back on this thing. The old Ford 9000 here. Put the pedal to the metal, so to speak. M Toady98, thanks for the subscribe, buddy. Get a good old vintage Napoleon Dynamite throwback gift there. Cole, the issue is for all chopped straw. It's not just corn. It's for soybean. It's for everything. It's for the light, dark, maize, and what was the other? Sunflower. So it's the same for all four. I really wish this truck had some interior. I usually don't use mods that aren't completed, you know, like this one, but I do like this truck. I'm not about to build an interior for it, but you know what I mean. So ever since I put in the new train tracks from 17, I used to have the 15 tracks in, obviously, because it's kind of when I started this map. Everything goes over the train tracks a lot more smoothly now, and I like that. So what we're gonna have to do here is we're gonna have to kind of drive in, use our electric tarp thing, and we're gonna have to drive in here. Park it. Does it make sense to make a course plate course at this point? Probably not. So I don't really think I'm going to. Thought I had a light on the screen. Oh, I do have a light. I just can't really see it. I need to fix the particle animations on the screen card in like a terrible way here. That's hilarious. So we're gonna run over back to our combine. Truck is private? Nope, I don't think so. I definitely didn't make it. I definitely downloaded it. You know, this is the best thing that 17 has going forward over 15, or is the light shaders. I'm really glad they fixed that. It could be improved, but it's definitely a lot better than what it was. So what I think I'm gonna do over here is just kind of try to find a middle spot, which is probably right here. Just go for it. So I've been streaming for an hour and 22 minutes, and we just kind of finished halfway with this field, which is surprising. I didn't think it was going to take that long. Which means it's probably going to take us another hour just to wrap up this field here. So I need to really write down the size of this field here. So this is, what is field is? This is field 55. 55. Damn, that is a really nice field, you might say. And if we go to 55, 55 is 13.69 hectares. I'll figure out what that is in acres later. What else am I going to do in this stream? I'm going to finish this field is what else I'm going to do in the stream. I don't have ADHD when it comes to tasks in Farming Simulator like some other streams, which is probably why I don't have as many views and subscribers, honestly. I totally get that. I don't expect to have 300 plus subscribers because, you know, kind of a little bit more logical in how I do things here. Yeah, but at the same time, like the game, like you can modify it to be a little bit more realistic with your speeds. But at the same time, you like you have to sit at your computer and kind of do this stuff. So I don't know, 6 miles an hour. It's, I mean, what do you harvest beans at? 5.5, 5? So 6 isn't too big of a stretch. I mean, those new corn planters from John Deere, you can plant at what, 10 miles an hour or something? Those high-speed planters. Those some of those horse planters, you can do 10, maybe 12 miles an hour. So, I mean, honestly, that's not too far of a stretch in terms of being realistic. I'm harvesting right now at 6 miles an hour, and that's soybeans. So. You know, maybe you need to harvest your wheat at. You know, that's the nice thing about the MR engine in 13 is depending on what your threshing area was in your combine, it really dictated. You know, even your engine horsepower, your power boost, that really dictated what kind of size of an implement. If you're taking in too much crop, it really bogged the machine down, and you actually had a yield loss, which is super cool. But if you only had so much horsepower, like a certain implement, a certain header required, you know, X amount of horsepower. That's really what they need to get back to. They need to incorporate that part of the MR mod, Durrell's MR mod. They incorporated his dynamic and static friction values, which is great, but they need to get a little bit more involved here. also surprised there's no case planer mods either, because Case IH has been in this game for so long that it's kind of ridiculous that there isn't more American-sized case planning equipment like early risers. Cole, the issue I was having is I had the lone trigger and the map XML saved as Trout Farms, and so it wasn't, the game for whatever reason wasn't recognizing that as a farm silo trigger. So I changed it back to just farm 01, farm silo 01. So if you don't see that, you don't have the latest version. How many fields am I working right now? Like how many in total for the farm? You can kind of see I brought out the PDA map here, so you can kind of see one where we are in the map and what farms we have. So we're farming field 1 to 12 and 30, 38. Those are all owned by the same farmer in real life. He has a couple that are kind of off the map here, a little bit more south of the ethanol plant. We also are. 61, he also owns 61. 15 and 38 are owned by F&A Dairy, which is kind of the cheese factory in town here, I think. They also own 16. And a couple other fields that are on the east that aren't shown in the northeast here. So we have 1, 2, 61, 39, 55, 12, 38, and 15. So pretty decent acreage, about 1,000 acres in total. Yeah, some YouTubers have 4 comments for 800 acres. Right. Would like paying the acre loans. Twelve is big. 12 is 380 acres. It's actually right there on our left. You can kind of see part of it. We made quite a few videos on plowing that field and planting it. We're definitely going to get a lot of crop from that. That's planted, which is good because you corn out of that field. Try to figure out how to store that somewhere. Yeah, our farm isn't too bad. Plan on expanding acres? Yeah, definitely. The thing is, we have a pretty hefty loan right now. We have a $500,000 loan. That comes with a pretty decent interest rate. We're burning through $5,000 a day in interest alone. So we may end up just leasing those fields instead of purchasing them. That's one nice feature of the bank of Hagenstadt, or however the hell you say that. You can lease fields. So we're probably going to end up doing that if we want to expand. Right now we own all of our fields. We're not leasing anything, so that's kind of an advantage we have right now. So the thing is with the leasing function, that's part of the bank mod. And you can adjust your leasing rates and things like that, which I've done. I've kind of given myself a 6.5 annual interest rate, which is a little bit higher than what it should be. I mean, the 3.5 annual interest rate, that's probably pretty good for, you know, agricultural loans. Although in Wisconsin they have a 1% interest rate on $1 million operating loan. Just saying. And I also bumped up the leasing. I depending on how many days I have in the season, so I have 9 days. I use the 365 days. You know, I match that to however long my season length is. Otherwise, it's like defaulted at like 20 days or 30 days or something weird like that. In debt much? I feel like $500,000 in debt for a farm isn't bad, honestly. I mean, a decent sized farm should be grossing, you know, $1 million plus, $2 million plus easily. And you pay nothing to borrow that money, so I don't really see any reasons why having that kind of, you know, 500,000 in debt. That's nothing. That's not even debt. That's an investment. I wouldn't even consider that a debt. What I consider debt is money that isn't making you money. If you borrow money and it's making you money, that's not debt. That's straight up that's an asset. If you ever quit working, yeah, you're screwed. But if you leverage yourself and invest and reinvest, it's, you know, it's what it is. It's an investment. It's a lot different than if you were to spend that money on a house versus a piece of equipment that's going to make you more efficient and more acres. I feel like I need to bump up the lights on this combine. I feel like this combine should have a little bit better lighting package than what it does. Well, I mean, you can see pretty decent when the header's down, but when the header's up, you can't really see much. Well, you gotta spend money to make money no matter what. You know, there's farmers out there that are making a lot of money. You know, if you're farming and if you keep farming corn and soybeans, you're probably not one of those, you know, high earning farmers, because there's quite the abundance of that. But if you get more into a specialty crop, or you get into a crop that, you know, people don't really, you know, get around, like lentils or peas or green beans, or, you know, even sugar beets. You know, if you get into the crops that are a little bit more difficult to farm and manage and harvest, you know, you're gonna have a higher profit margin. But if you keep doing things that are simple, like corn and beans, you know, everyone does that. There's over an abundance of that shit being grown, so you shouldn't expect to have a high profit margin in those crops. Even wheat and barley. Thanks, Go. I'll take a look at it. Um, if you can contract with like Budweiser or something like that, that'd probably be pretty decent. You know, I don't really know anyone that does that. I feel like that would be the way to go, right? Contracting those grains to your brewers. Although that could be a nightmare too. I mean, look at the people that grow chickens for like Purdue chicken and shit like that. You know, that's straight up a nightmare. Like people that grow milk for Walmart. You know, Walmart's doing their own like pasteurization plants and really screwing their producers over. So maybe it's a terrible idea. You know, I feel like the mainstream farmer really hates the term organic and non-GMO, but I'll tell you what, you know, there's people out here that, you know, in the Northeast where, like, there's a huge market. I mean, look at Whole Foods. Amazon just bought Whole Foods. The reason why? Because it's a huge profit-making machine. And it's all about organic and shit. So, like, people are really, they don't really care how cheap their food is anymore, honestly. You know, where I live, they really could give two shits if they spend, you know, $2 a gallon of milk, or they spend 6 gallon of milk, you know, gallon of for milk. All they care about is it good. They don't want to put poison into the body, and for whatever reason, mainstream media has the impression that anything that isn't organic is poison from, you know, like straight up poison from your Monsantos and shit. So the farmers around here that are branding their products as organic, they're crushing it, crushing it. Like $9+ a bushel for a freaking corn. Like what? So it's kind of an example of change with the times here, or kind of you gotta acclimate or kind of get consumed. And then you add on top of that this whole tariff situation of like exporting goods, and you know, the United States is the #1 in exporting of agricultural goods. Everything we grow, we do not use. We grow too much of it. It gets sold to other countries, and when you put tariffs on that shit, it comes back to the, you know, guess who? The people that make it. So we gotta unload this again, which is a good problem to have. You know, in all capitalistic societies and free market societies, you're right. You gotta grow what the consumer wants. This is a consumer-based nation. If you're not producing what a consumer wants, you're signing yourself a death sentence, essentially. You know, kind of close to this area. It's called Roberts, Wisconsin. There's this guy. He has the most flawless business model ever. This guy, all he does is grow sweet corn, nothing else. And then he hires hot chicks in bikinis to sell it at stands all over the towns. it probably pays, I don't know, $10 an hour or something. To, every chick will be on board because it requires no physical labor. They do nothing. They gotta sit out in the sun all day and get tan, which is like requirement number two uh, for a hot chick summer job. And then three, they get paid decent money. So this guy just grows sweet corn, hires hot chicks to sell it in bikinis, and like this guy's just crushing it. No one cares where that sweet corn comes from, how he grows it. All they care about is they're buying it from hot chicks in bikinis. Flawless business model. It's the greatest thing. Is this thing still filling up this semi? Damn. So unlike Lone Oak Farms, I wouldn't have a taco stand. I would have a sweet corn stand, and I'd have a hot chick standing there ready to take your order. And I'd be getting rich, because all of you guys would be buying it. Be honest with yourselves. Doesn't matter if the sweet corn's good or bad, you'd still buy it. And you'd pay cash. So we are officially getting down to, I think, the last 3 passes here. I think there's 2 more on that side. Once I finish this side of our first soybean field, I think we have 2 more bean fields to go. One super tiny one, and then one gigango one. So you have to let me know if you either want to see corn. After this, I'm gonna fast forward time to the morning here, so we don't have to do any night videos, because I know you guys don't really like those. Or maybe you do, I don't know. You'll have to let me know in the chat in the comments below. One thing is for sure, when 19 comes out, I'm definitely gonna I've never, ever tried cotton in any game. This has been around forever, but all the mods for cotton and Farming Simulator have been total trash. So I've never even bothered to kind of dig around with it. But one thing is for sure, when 19 comes out, I am definitely gonna start farming some cotton and probably some poplar. I have never farmed poplar yet. Honestly, I don't even know why there's poplar, but there is. I'd rather see a lot bigger equipment for lifting beets and potatoes, but I'll farm some cotton. I saw a comment on Giants Farming Simulator's page when they released that CGI video. There was a comment under there that was like, when they showed the whole cotton thing, and the guy's like, "So I suppose you want people to hire a worker to pick your cotton?" And there was no response. That was the most brilliant comment. It was at the very top, so everyone that watched that video saw that comment. I'm gonna have to go back and see who that was, and privately message them and thank them, because I think about that comment a lot. Because there's a meme, a John Deere meme about a cotton picker. It's obviously racial, but still funny. Anyways, I thought that was hilarious. You know, I feel like if you're farming at night, yeah, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. I mean, a lot of people around where I'm, they're farming until 1, 2 in the morning. Honestly, it's not even 8 o'clock, right? 2,100 hours. That's what is that? 8 o'clock. So that's 4 hours. That's 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. So that's 8 o'clock here. 8 o'clock and it's already pretty dark. I feel like, well, yeah, it is fall. It gets dark a little bit earlier. Right now, in the middle of summer, it doesn't get dark until about 9:30. Me too, Shane. Me too. The nice thing about having a new game come out is you get to see um, all the new equipment and all that shit. It's an exciting time. I'm not gonna lie. You know, I'm pretty pissed off they come out with a new game every 2 years, but at the same time, I'm kind of glad they do. So call me a little bit crazy, but from a modder's perspective, it's very frustrating because it takes so long to get the new version and convert all of your shit over from the other game and get it all optimized and working, and then by the time that's all done, 6 months and then the new game's out. So you spend the first year and a half trying to figure everything out and getting it up to par. Um, and then they release a new game. But at the same time, with the new game, they sometimes, let me put this in bold parentheses, italicized, and underlined. Sometimes Giants does a good thing and they fix problems from the existing game. For example, in 17, they fixed the lighting issue that was plaguing 13 and 15. 15 was a great game. The only thing that wasn't great about it was the lights. They fixed that. 17, it's an okay game. I don't think it's as great as 15 was because 15 had soil mod. However, 17 has seasons. So I guess you kind of, if 17 had soil mod, bar none, it would be the best game so far. I can't really say that. 19, that's a toss-up. Who really knows? It sounds like they're going to add some features of Seasons mod. It sounds like they're going to add some extra animals here, some extra crops. John Deere, whoopie-doo. Uh, who really cares? But, at the same time, that's cool. They're adding new features. What are the actual lit up circles around the speed? I could not tell you. I'm assuming that means like what kind of engine, what maybe that's like your current speed versus the max speed. I, I have no idea. I actually, good question. Um, I don't know myself. I can only speculate. The thing with sugar beets is they usually harvest those at night when it's a little bit cooler. If it's too hot, the elevator or whatever you call it, the stacker isn't really accepting them. So I wouldn't say it's worthless. You can definitely keep playing the same version of the game. Sometimes, honestly, if you're having a great time, right now, I was, let me back up. In 13, I was having a great time. The only thing I didn't like about 13 was the light shader. And I was like, they really need to fix this. They need to fix the lighting in this game. And they fixed a lot of things going to the 15. They implemented kind of a more realistic engine. The soil mod was converted over, which is great. Um, the lag was kind of improved because it cached things. Um, but from 15 to 17, it was definitely the lights that kind of brought me over here. Anyways, with that, we are officially done with our beans, ladies and gentlemen, in this field. Psych. We're definitely not done with beans. We're just done with beans in field 55. A little shout out with the horn there, a little truck horn. I definitely don't think that's what the horn in a S680 combine sounds like, but you never know. Everything is modifiable. Yeah, the lit up circles is part of the drive control mod. So, if you're using that, which I highly recommend, uh, you're probably gonna have to modify your interactive controller. If you're using an old version, I make sure every piece of equipment that has IC uses. I kind of have my core scripts that I kind of copy and paste into every mod. And change the mod description so I can control it with like the control instead of the spacebar, because it was initially defaulted with a spacebar for whatever reason. Alright, so we are done. We are El Deno. Let me just kind of like putz around this field to make sure. How embarrassing that would be if I thought we were done and we actually weren't and I left the field and we had to come back. That would be terrible. Anyways, I'm running around this field like a crazy person. And we are done. I can confirm that. And we can get back in this beast. Why do the fields on the map seem so small yet are so large? It's because it's a 16x map, brother. This is, each edge of this PD map is 8 kilometers. It's an 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer. So yeah, things are gonna look small. So I'm gonna put this thing back on the header trailer here. That way our truck can bring it back to field 15. This guy's good to go. He's got his trailer going, engine's running, this guy's following him. Let's get in our grain cart tractor here. He's full, which is fine. Okay, so we got like 1,500 bushel or whatever on this field. This yield isn't going to be all that accurate because we're not putting all the grain in the bins here. Red Bull ad as you're running around the field. You know, take Red Bull. Take Red Bull right now, and we want to get sponsored by Red Bull. I can do like a fly around video. Red Bull gives you wings. So we're burning a lot of money here. Wow, this truck has no lights whatsoever. So we got a full load here, 1555 bushels. we're a little overloaded. Pretty sure we're only supposed to have about 1,000 bushel in this trailer. But when you're farming and it's this dark, no one's gonna stop you. We got a permit, right? We got a permit. We can overload our trailers. So we're gonna drive the old Jetco egg hopper here back to the farm. As long as this L9000 here has the ponies to pull it. This thing turns like a freaking, like a cheetah. Look at this. This thing's got agility like none other. The old L9000. Old L9000 and the Jetco. You guys might see this trailer from... Whoop. I want to go in reverse here. This is the trailer I was using on Clark Farms back in... I think I was 13. maybe it's 15. I forget. Anyways, it's from Abel Farms. He made this trailer. I just kind of converted it over here. So that's low beams on this truck. That's high beams. Not a whole lot better here. What can you expect from these old pickup trucks, right? Honestly, if a deer jumped out in front of me, I would smoke the shit out of the thing because there's no way I'm stopping and there's no way I would see it. Most states limits don't apply from field to farm. Good to know. You know, there is that YouTube channel. I believe it's called Born to Farm. That guy, he's actually a cop, as far as I know, and he works on a farm, so he would know all about that. And I'm pretty sure he's over in Minnesota, across the border here. So he'd be pretty familiar with the rules and regulations. Or, or, or if he chooses to break them, he probably knows the person that's pulling him over, so he could be like, you know what, let's forget you saw me, right? Like, I'll get you a coffee tomorrow. So, go ahead and piss off. Yeah, that'd be good if the weight limits didn't apply from field to farm, but like, how do you prove that, right? If you came up with a dick officer, he'd be like, prove that. Like, what are you gonna do right there on the spot? You definitely are gonna have people that abuse that too. Well, I'm transferring from one bin to another back to the farm, but it's kind of out of the field. Holy sh! I need to put some reflectors or something at the end of this driveway. Almost missed it. I knew it was coming up because I knew it was right behind that mailbox. So for some reason, I'm gonna have to back up here. Alright, pull the trigger on that bad boy. Beans are going into the dryer. Let's see what's going in our side. They're going in our silo. That's beautiful, seeing that number going up. We have about 17,000 bushels of corn. That's great. That's out of two fields. One decent, one terrible. But our, our price per bushel is what's terrible. Um, if we go to our seasons mod here, we're kind of right in the middle of the soybean harvest. We're pretty early for the corn harvest. Um, when the hell? Okay. Oh, so soybean and corn planting are about the same time. We're taking off. We're kind of focusing on beans right now. It kind of explains why that bean field's a little bit ahead of our cornfield. We got another day or so to go on that one cornfield. Let's look at the price for beans. Price for beans is looking pretty grim here up until spring. Corn also looking pretty grim. Actually this winter, so we'll probably get a chance to unload a lot of our grain in winter time. Okay, so we're gonna bring the convoy. Do I have enough grain bins for all my crops? No, no, I do not actually. Oh, but Giants doesn't know that. Shh. So we're hitting the road, Jack. So we're gonna get this field after we kind of destroy 15 here. You know, the more grain you can move per trip and per gallon of fuel and per man hour, the better, right? Because in between, anything you do in between of taking it out of the field and bringing it to where you sell it, that's an expense in transportation. So the less you have to handle it, the better. You know, I'm all for someone trying to cut corners and trying to cut costs, but you got to do it at a point. Like you're still a citizen of your community. You can't be a total dick about it. And let's be honest here, farmers don't really pay much in taxes because they get to write off everything. You only pay tax on your net profit, and if you write off a bunch of shit, so your net income is like nothing, you only pay tax on your net income. And if you report a net income of like nothing, your farming business isn't really paying a whole lot. Much like most businesses, actually. Alright, so these guys, wow, they actually made it this far and they didn't crash and burn and get lost and whatever else. Except this combine, he doesn't really take corners too great here. Alright, so he made it. The articulating tractor, no problem. So this is an issue, as you can kind of see in the left here, these fields are kind of fenced in with collision fencing. So I have to drive this. It would make sense to do this cornfield first, that way I can kind of drive in with the header. And I wouldn't have to drive over a bunch of crop, but... Where is the entrance to this field? It's gotta be coming up here. Come to Illinois, play penny. Come to Massachusetts. I'm sure I pay more taxes than you. Ah, here's the entrance. So this should have one little bit of fertilization to it, because we definitely did come in here with our sprayer. We're going to drive over a lot of crop here, though. That's kind of what I'm afraid about. Let's try to hug it on the fence line here. Alright. So, here's the thing. Do you guys want me to keep going? Do you want me to pause it? Do you want me to fast forward time? Do you want to do some night harvest in this little bean field? I can bring out the PDA field. It's very tiny. You can't even see it. The number, like, blocks the whole field. Whatever. I'm going to sneak in here this little field entrance. I'm going to run over a bunch of crop. But that's okay. We'll try to... Is this... Oh, you gotta be shitting me. It's not letting me harvest this? Why does it say it's ready then? Houston, we have a problem. Is anyone else confused by this? 71% growing. Oh, good lord. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is we're running into a little issue here. Is I'm gonna end the stream and I'm gonna figure out what's going on. I'm gonna fast forward time and see if we can harvest this. So, thanks for watching. I'll probably be on later. If not, maybe tomorrow.